Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Live. It's kind of a cold, rainy morning out here in Southside Virginia, and got on my coat again. And so my whiteboard is empty this morning. I can write if I want to, but I don't know what to write. So I thought I would come here and just talk about emptiness. I've been invited to give a talk at the Heartfulness Center, Meditation Center in Richmond on Sunday, and I was just asked, how can you be introduced, since you haven't been there before? And so that's a difficult question because I really don't have any credentials, degrees. I have not been ordained, except as a martini priest. And I have no tradition in the sense that I have been in a tradition, philosophical or religious or yoga or any of the traditions that one goes through and is initiated into or out of or given the stamp of approval by a teacher or whatever. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so how can I come here and talk to you with some sense of authority, or who is this guy? And so I got to thinking about that, and I tried to help this fellow out when who asked me, how can I introduce you? And I said, well, I have 60 years of experience on the path, the meandering spiritual path that most of us are on in some way or the other, even if we don't know it, we're on it. So there is this meandering, kind of like The Life of Pi. If you recall, I love that movie. And in The Life of Pi, in the beginning, he tried out different religions. I mean, he tried out, and this is not studying the religion. I mean, he went into it and did the religion. And came out realizing that it was limited. There was something missing, which is what the Buddha did. For 6 years, after he left his pleasure palace, he tried out all the yogas of his day. And there were many of them because yoga was already 1,000 years old when Buddha was coming along. So, I mean, this was a very ancient tradition, and he went through them all, finding them all limited. And so he came out with nothing. And so that's kind of like, I've been through... as I have described, I started my journey on the submarines, and I was aroused by Thomas Merton, so I was in love with mystical Christianity and the medieval mystics, St. John of the Cross and all of these Catholic mystics. And then I moved into philosophy, and I got a minor in philosophy in college, and then I was interested by yoga, the autobiography of a yogi, and I had a spiritual awakening with going to sleep, listening to Krishnamurti, and then I wanted to be a Presbyterian minister and got kicked out of that, dropped that, and ended up wanting to be a yoga guru, and I got involved with the 70s and with the gurus, and then I dropped it all and became, having failed at all of it, I became a newspaper writer and a photographer. And then damned if the spiritual path if it didn't come back and kick me back on the way. And so since 2005, I've been trying to package myself. I opened up a yoga center here in Blackstone, and lasted for a while, but then that dried up. so I've been packaging myself. It's kind of like flying kites. Maybe this kite will fly. No, there was no wind. Maybe this kite will fly. No, the design wasn't good. So my whole life has been basically a struggle to package myself, to make myself somebody, to give myself some form, to be somebody, to be respected, to be liked, to be recognized, to be accepted. I said that. But the main thing is to be, I think the yearning is to be unique and respected for your uniqueness. And that, and yet at the same time, we want to belong and be a part of something greater, you see. So a yoga teacher told me when I first started out, why I wasn't, I started out in the Light of Yoga Society in 1970, and I wanted to be a yoga teacher, and that was a spiritual yoga teacher. I just didn't want to teach exercises. But I was told I had inconsistencies in the lower nature, and so you're not ready yet. Charlie, the tuna, you're not ready for the tuna factory. That was kind of like my refrain. Never ready for the tuna factory. So my whole life has been trying to get ready for that tuna factory. And the irony is, when you go to the tuna factory, you get eaten. So anyway, I think I'm at a point in my life now, at the age of 80, where I don't want to be anything. I've given up trying to package myself. I've given up trying to have authority and credentials and the respect of peers and fitting in and being somebody that where you can hang your plaque on the door, or your letters after your name, or be blessed by a big guru or something. Anyway, all of that, it's all gone. So that kind of like leaves me with that. And so I've kind of ended up in Zen, but I don't mean to say that I've never been to a Zen center. I've never met anybody who's a Zen monk or an abbot or anything. But I love to read and taste the Zen view. And I have a few writers, Zen writers, that have really been my meal, so to speak. But Zen kind of like is the end of the pirate's plank. After you've been through all of them and you come to the end and you're standing there looking into the void of emptiness, and Zen kind of is like the little sword that kind of poof, punches you off, and you just step off into it. And what you discover when you step into the void of emptiness is that you're full. That's the great irony. You can't discover fullness until you are empty. And you can't be empty until you have found and removed every single last scrap of food on your plate. Remember when your mother said, don't leave anything on your plate? Wash the plate clean. When I wash the dishes, my wife always points out if I leave a little piece of food on it. Well, you didn't get this one. So that's kind of where it is. You see, if there's one thought left, if there's one thought of something, that I'm something left, you're not yet empty. You see how that changes? Now, is that dot a hole in the white? You see, is this dot? This is a, is that a hole in the white and it's black behind it? You see, or is that, or is it black? Is that a hole in the black? It could be either. So we don't know, but the point is, this one little spot is something. And so we will cling. And when we start erasing to get to emptiness, you see, we keep finding new little spots. That damn, out, damn spot, out, you see. So the whole practice is finding these spots that we cling to, that one little thing that makes me fear the loss of the dot. You see, as soon as I've got any dot that I'm clinging to, there's fear. There is the fear of losing that one little thing. You know, you could get rid of everything and have a begging bowl. Oh, I love my little begging bowl. And there would be fear. Somebody will take it. So we cling to this. So what happens if it all goes? What happens if we just let it all go? What happens if we just become empty? I got nothing. I know nothing, said Sergeant Schultz. So what happens then? Well, if you'll notice that even this is empty, but it's also full. What is? It's full of whiteness. It's full of emptiness. It's full. And it's empty. And this is the irony of Zen. Zen is the ironic way. The ancient Jews saw God as ironic. The Jews make great comics because they understand irony. And irony is where you have, okay, you have two one-ways. One way going this way, one way going that way. That's ironic. Irony makes you, so you can't, the irony pushes you, this is a conflict, the irony pushes you out to emptiness. The irony pushes you to make the leap beyond form. All form is conflicted. All form is this or that. As soon as I make a form, it's this, but it's not this. You see, this is form, this is something too. The background is something. So you have this and not that. But in irony, you have this is this and this is that. So in irony, you have this is a dot and this is also the background. You can't have one without the other. So everything comes in pairs on Noah's Ark. Everything comes in twos. So how do you get to the one? And we have to get to the one because there can only be one truth, one reality. There can't be two realities. That's schizophrenia. So how do you get to the one that has no second? How do you get to the one that has no dot? Because if you got a dot, you got a second. See, the dot is the one dot, but the dot is not the background. So you got two. You got the background and you got the foreground. And which is which? Is this the background or the foreground? Is the dot the foreground or the background? I don't know. You see? So form comes in these pairs of opposites, each becoming the other. Like heads becomes tails, tails becomes heads. So how do you get to the one? How do you get, and you could call, what do you call the one? You could say it's soul, S-O-U-L. But then it can't be soul because soul is something. Then you have soul and not soul. So it's this constant evolution, this constant movement towards the one that has no second. And that's nothing. Only emptiness has no second. So when we finally fall into emptiness through the pirate's plank of Zen, and I use Zen more as a formula rather than a tradition. You have to go join a Zen monastery. I don't mean that at all. So Zen is just a short way of saying Buddhism. Zen is Buddhism with jokes. So this constant urging of the soul to find itself is what we're all looking for. looking for ourself, our wholeness, our one that has no second, you see. And that just, that yearn, when that is awake, you can't go back. When that awakens, it will not let you rest. It becomes a yearning that cannot be refused. And if we try to refuse it, if we don't hear the call, our suffering is even greater, you see. So we have to go, we can't not go. But does it take many reincarnations or lifetimes? I don't know. But I do know that the push to be empty is the push to be full. And we don't discover the fullness until we take the faith leap into emptiness. We can't find the fullness that we're looking for until we trust the emptiness, because emptiness and fullness are the same. Neither has a second. Fullness has no second. Emptiness has no second. If everything is full, everything is empty. If everything is empty, everything is full. But we can't know that until we step off into it, which means that we have to give up our clinging to the last dot. We cling to the last spot, the last thought of me, the last thought of I can't give up that thought, but it's a thought. It's a spot that we cling to. So here we are at nothing. It's clear. And if I have one thought, one spot, it quickly multiplies into that. And there again, I'm full of thought, longing for clarity, longing for emptiness. And so, you know, I'm going to be giving this talk next Sunday, and I don't know who the people are there or what they're interested in, and so I'm just going to go with myself and see what happens. So and these Facebook Live talks that I've been giving have been a practice for me, because I come here, sometimes I come with some ideas prepared and I work those out, and sometimes, like today, I come with an empty board, and I just trust that something will happen, that I won't make a fool of myself. And so that trusting yourself, trusting your emptiness is what it's all about. If you don't know what to say, if you don't know what to do, fine. Trust that. If you're in a situation, trust that you'll know what to do. If you don't trust that you'll know what to do, then you're going to be in a state of panic or fear, or looking for somebody who does know what to do. And then they become the spot you cling to. So, erase the spot. See what happens. Let go. See what happens. Don't trust anything but your own emptiness, and then you find that it's really full. When you don't know anything, you know everything. You don't know everything as knowledge, but you know you know what to do. So knowing and doing are the same. So anyway, we'll leave it with that, and I'll see you at Martini time this evening.